copper, white, blue, green. This is togetherness. And you know, I say, I am a recipient of the lost dream in America. Thank you.
Lots of people that are down on their luck and nobody cares too much about an alcohol or drug. Serve lots of people that are down on their luck and nobody cares too much about an alcohol or drug addicted person. They also serve as a free clinic. And those free clinics are becoming harder and harder to maintain. My free clinic budget is very small. It's $156,000 a year. We see over 1,000 people. We also have a Portage County clinic that is a sliding fee clinic. It's a federally qualified health center. And our folks can't afford to go there because the first amount that they owe is $20. Some of these folks are diabetics that haven't eaten. We actually have our staff bring in food so that people who are diabetic can not have to go to the food bank. Thank God for the food banks, but they don't have transportation. They eat what we can give them there, and they give them a bag to go home with. I guess my big point is that social service has been cut to the bone, to the bone, to the bone. The most recent thing in the state of Ohio is that they are going to cut non-Medicaid monies to alcohol and drug mental health programs. Now, what that means is they're going to run out of money about January. And the Department of Jobs and Family Services is no longer going to give money to the agencies that provide services. Now, if you're Medicaid eligible, you'll get Medicaid. Of course, we know that they're cutting Medicaid, so that's not going to be much. If you're insured, you've always had that option. But the vast majority of people who come to Town Hall 2 are not insured and non-Medicaid because people who are addicted don't get Medicaid, most of them. I just want to emphasize the fact that it's time that the Democrats and those who can speak their mind closely and clearly get up and stand up for the people. It's time. Don't worry about your re-election. Worry about the people because that's where it's at. Thank you very much.
Well, we advertised that this event would run from 11 to 1. It is 1:45, and we have Tom Gentry, Terry Heckman, and I don't have anyone else left on the list, so if that's the case, I would present my testimony at the end of Terry Heckman's presentation.
Any time for questions?
And then we will have time for questions. Thank you.
My name is Tom Gentry, Sr. I'm on the board of the Akron Area Association of Churches, and I'm one of the founders of the Baptist Peace Fellowship of North America, and good friends of Jim Toy, his parents and grandparents. Jim Toy worked for Senator Porter. My solution for our problems of budget and our national debt cannot be solved with expenses alone. The solution that I offer is for our president to have a Franklin D. Roosevelt type fireside chat in the springtime. And the only way of life, how our life can be what it ought to be, is to revise our income tax structure in such a way that we acknowledge that everybody is important in our 50-state community. This is the only way I know to pay our national debt, along with ending our war mentality. Our graduated income tax should tax a $10 million income at 80%. Not 90, a little bit generous. But $2 million ought to be enough for that family to get along. Perhaps $1 million income should only be taxed 70%. That leaves $300,000 to get by on. How about a $200,000 income? Maybe 50%. Maybe 50% is a little high for that. But you know, the percentages I'm giving don't have to be precisely what I'm saying, but that's the idea. And our current capital gains tax of 50% is ridiculous. And the financial community earning fantastic amounts of money and not paying taxes as they ought to is wrong. And giving unfair tax breaks to the rich has not produced the jobs we need. So someone else said it trickle down. That's it. Actually, I wrote what I'm saying as a letter to the Beacon Journal, and it didn't get published. I don't know why. Okay. Our tax laws, written by our national elected government, must be revised with our national community best interests in mind. It is their job and patriotic duty. And allied with that is the Social Security. The taxes should be up for everybody. It doesn't quit at any level, it just keeps going.
Amen. Amen. Take your cap off.
I should give my time to the gentleman here. Good afternoon. I'm here to represent victims of crime, more specifically as the Executive Director of the Battered Women's Shelter and the Rape Crisis Center, both in Summit and Medina counties. A little bit I feel like I'm preaching to the choir also because the people you represent have been supporters of my organization, but also because you know as well as I do that some of your peers recently became victims of crime. It can happen to anyone. As you can imagine, the financial strains on the nonprofits now are bigger than others. I'm using federal, state, United Way, local monies, individual donations to try to keep shelters open. Trying to balance the budget that you're trying to balance is complicated and hard, but it's proportionately just as hard as the budgets that we're trying to balance in our nonprofits and even in our homes these days. It's very, very difficult. In the past 3 years, I've had to lay off 5 employees. I've asked my employees who make $10 an hour to take a freeze on their salaries. We've cut out mileage. We've cut out summer activities for the kids who are staying in shelter. And I guess I just step back and I think, has Washington done the same thing? I wonder, and I'm not talking about your jobs, but I'm wondering if some of the staffers have been laid off or not rehired as they've left. I wonder if some of these trips we hear about that all of our representatives and senators take maybe don't need to be taken. I wonder if there's fat in that budget that we hear about all the time through the news that can be cut. It's got to be done in small ways and large ways. They keep looking, as I heard, at the nonprofits. You realize it makes up just only a fraction of the budget. That's not where the cuts need to come from. Crimes, victims, crimes are bipartisan. They don't discriminate based on your political affiliation. Any one of us today could become a victim of a crime. All of our cities have it. All of our racial groups have it. All of our ages have it. The funds that they're going to decide on this year are going to affect people who are victims in the years to come. We don't know who they are yet. Could be me, could be any of you, could be you. These services have to be there. When I think about the money that is spent on our criminals each year, and then I look at the money that's spent on our victims, when I look at the way that people in jail are living versus the way that people in my shelters are living, It's a disgrace what we're doing to the most